All right, welcome everybody once again. For people that are joining us now, because we still have more people joining in the course of the call, this is Thinkficial Engineering Network. At Thinkficial, at Thinkficial, we are into and everything tech. Let me put it that way: everything tech, web development, web design, um, UI UX, that is graphics designing, any form of tech that you can think of. We also do training on those areas. If you need training on any of those tech related courses, we carry out training on them. You can reach us out. You can reach out to us through our social media network. We're active on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and also on Facebook. We have a physical office in Alugbe, Abuja, opposite a BNG guest house opposite BGM guest house by police signboard, just along the airport road. But then, if you are not close, you can always reach out to us via the social media network, and we'll be with you and for any of those services. Yes. So this, like I said before, for the benefit of those that are joining us now, this is our monthly virtual meetup. So we have this every last Saturday of the month, and this is the May edition of the virtual meetup for this year 2026. And today, as always, we'll be discussing a very interesting topic. I mean, it's something that is what is everywhere now. Like AI is what is really in our world now. There are a lot of things, there are a lot of areas that you can explore via AI. There are a lot of things that you can do through the AI. But then it's knowing how best to use it. We'll be able to maximize the advantages of all the available AI tools. And this evening we'll have a very special speaker that's going to be talking to us on this special topic. The topic is how to prompt AI tools. Yes, there are a lot of AI platform, a lot of applications that can help us do one thing or the other. But knowing how best to use it, it's another thing. You can have it, yes, but the best way to use it, that's the only way you can be able to make the best out of it. So, and we have today the person who's going to be speaking to us is a it's a what I call him is a I don't want to say he's a professor because maybe technically he's not a professor, but he's a specialty in this field, in the field of technology, in the tech industry, fintech. He has experience cutting across fintech, edutech, e-commerce, health tech, and all of that. He's a senior technical lead full stack developer. He's a full stack engineer. So help me to welcome our speaker for this evening, Mr. Patrick Okechukwu Ifeora, that will be speaking to us on the topic, like I've mentioned, how to prompt AI tools, because that's the only way to make the best out of the AI that we have in this 21st century. So please, if you are excited to have him speak to us this evening, please a round of applause. Yes, I can see people clapping here. So just a round of applause as we welcome our speaker on stage today, Mr. Patrick Ifeora. So, sir, you would have the next 40 minutes to speak to us. So, we'll be rounding up like 10 minutes to 8, where we take questions and comments and all of that. That's at the end of the training. So, if you have any question, just write them down while we take it at the end of the training. Thank you, everybody. You have the floor now, Mr. Patrick. Thank you.
Uh, all right. Good evening, everyone. I'm guessing everyone here, I think for those people who probably are joining from outside Nigeria or overseas, then good day to you. My name is Mr. Patrick Ifeora, and I'm a software engineer, and I have been in this industry for about, I would say, 7+ years. So we're going to go into the topic of today, which is how to prompt AI tools. And basically, in this particular, what I will be sharing with you today would be just my own journey on adopting AI tools. If I can ask, by show of hands, how many of us here have used an AI to open AI's ChatGPT, Gemini, or anyone? How many of us here actively use AI tools? Just by show of hands. All right. So I think almost everyone here has used AI tools, either ChatGPT or Gemini, or maybe even Claude. So what I will be doing today is basically sharing with you all, my own approach to prompting AI. So we know that we are in the era of AI. We know that we are in the era of AI, and that AI tools are everywhere. And I mean, it doesn't matter the industry that you work in. As I understand, there are a collection of technical and non-technical people here. So it doesn't really matter the industry that you find yourself, from health to financial technology to commerce to design, visual design, graphic design, even to videography, editing, video editing. AI has basically touched almost every industry, even law. I don't know if there are lawyers in the house. AI is also making inroads in the administration of legal services. So what I will be sharing with you today is just a generic way that I have found that kind of like improves the way you prompt AI. And part of working with AI is being able to prompt it well. It's kind of like being really good at Google search. But then this one is specifically for AI. Prompting AI is how you kind of like get your results out of the AI, because AI is kind of like a black box, and you have to prompt it so that you can get your results out of it. Whatever you are trying to do, whether you're trying to create a spreadsheet, create a very basic graphic design, or maybe even write code, to get the best out of the AI, you have to prompt it well. You have to prompt it properly. However, we must first of all, to discuss prompting properly, we must first of all discuss the limitations of AI currently, as it stands right now in 2026. Because one thing I have found is that if you don't understand the limitations of a thing, you cannot be able, it's not going to be very easy for you to be able to get the best results out of that thing. So AI as it stands in 2026 is not 100% perfect. It can do a lot. It is very useful. There might be people around you who are slow to adopt AI in their work process or in their workflow. But it doesn't mean that AI is not here to stay. The genie is out of the bottle. Artificial intelligence is here to stay. And I don't think there's going to be any other way to put, AI back into a bottle. So we have to roll with it. So like I said, to be able to understand how to get the best out of the thing, my belief is that you have to understand the limitations, and there are limitations. There are majorly two limitations with AI currently. It doesn't matter the model. It doesn't matter, how much data it was trained on. It doesn't matter the vendor for that model. So Google with Gemini, OpenAI with GPT, GPT-4, GPT-5, Anthropic with Claude, DeepSeek, and all the other ones. It doesn't really matter. There are two limitations that plague all of them, irrespective of the one you use. Number one is the memory limit problem. That's the first issue. There is a memory limit problem. Sometimes I have observed people engage with AI as if it does not have a memory limit, but it does. And this will be important. These two reasons, or these two limitations, will be important going forward. So please stay with me. I'm going somewhere. Now, AI is not the only one with memory limits. Human beings have memory limits too. Not to go deep into, biology and all of that, but, the reason why we forget as human beings is usually because, or why we can't recall certain things that have happened a long time ago, or certain things we've read long time ago, is because our memory is finite. So there's a limit to our memory. There's an upper bound. And, that's just the way it is. And the same applies to AI. AI has a memory limit. And being very cautious of managing this memory limit is specifically how you can get the best out of it. The second problem is AI finds it difficult to connect. So AI can, give you a lot of insights, right? It can draw data from multiple sources and combine it in a very plausible manner, right? But it cannot make connections. So it cannot connect one aspect of what you are doing or what you are trying to achieve to another related aspect. Remember, I said related aspect, right? Not unrelated. So it can't make associations or connections easily between data sets. It doesn't really know how to do that. And these two problems, once you understand them and understand how to work around these two limitations, they're not problems per se, but limitations. So let me mention that again. Let me take that again. The first one is the memory limit, or the memory limitation. And the second one is the association or connection limitation. So these two, knowing how to work around these two limitations is what can help with being able to prompt AI. Now, of course, I think it's very obvious that back in the days when we were stuck with Google search, when back in the days before AI, when all of us, not most of us, were stuck with Google search, the quality of your results, the Google results that you get, has to do with the quality of your search, right? So that basic rule has not changed. If you want to get better results on your Google search, you have to, in a way, in quotes, prompt Google search well. And, we have different ways. We have different ways that we prompt we have different ways that we prompt Google, and there are even keywords that we use to, prompt Google. For instance, if I can I share my screen?
Yes, sir, you can.
Okay. All right. Please tell me when you can see my screen.
We can, sir.
Okay. So this is Google search, right? Like I said, the quality of the results you get from Google search way before AI was a thing has to do with the quality of your search. So if I wanted to find, let's say, all gender specific issues in Africa, and if I use this, right, so you can see the minus sign and Nigeria, right, just after my query, my search query. So I'm searching for all gender specific issues in Africa, let's say since 1999. Now, this minus sign and then Nigeria basically tells Google that I want for all African countries, all the gender specific issues since 1999 in all of Africa, except for Nigeria, right? So if I click this, I would have this here, right? And if I also want to say, okay, West Africa, so I want to narrow it down to West Africa, and then I want to include Kenya. I want all gender specific issues in West Africa since 1999, including Kenya. Kenya is not a West African country, right? It's an East African country. And so if I do that, right, and I'm going to get, first I'm going to get, so we can just ignore this AI result for now. And then you can see that among the top results, I'm getting women and men shaping Western Kenya and all. Well, this is implied basically because although I can come here and also do this, plus South Africa. So South Africa is also, so I can say all gender specific issues in West Africa since 1999 include Kenya and include South Africa. And I can get the results for that. So you can see even the AI is giving me results for South Africa, for West Africa, and also for Kenya. So knowing these tricks, knowing this Google search works in this manner, we can apply this same logic. I'm not saying these things are specific to, these things I just used now are specific to Google. All right, so they are not, you can't use this in when prompting AIs, different types of AIs, ChatGPT, Claude, or Gemini, or any other one. So these ones, this syntax here, this plus and minus is specific to Google. And also there are other ways. So you can say sites, so eventbrite.com, right? and I can do this, and then I can say eventbrite.com, get me all events happening in Nigeria for June 2026. Right? So we have this. And it gets me everything. So the site and colon with the host name or the URL for the website, just the host name URL for the website. And then I use this tilde character, and then I put my actual search term. And it brings me exactly, events in June in Eventbrite. So I'm looking for all of the things in Eventbrite, all the events that are happening in Nigeria, specifically for June 2026. And I have them here, all the links, right? Again, this same idea is how we approach prompting, basically, right? So we have to be very, very specific, right? Now, it depends on the results, what we want. If we want results that are not specific, then we don't have to be specific with our prompt. So we can also see this, the way we write this out when searching Google, we can also apply this same thinking to how we write our prompts. And I'll be showing some examples much later. So I will share my screen much later, and we're going to see examples of certain prompts that I've made in the course of my work that I'm allowed to show. So what I'm saying in essence is that we can transfer some of the skills that we have developed throughout all the years of using Google search. We can transfer some of those skills into prompting. It's basically the same. The skills are transferable, right? We can transfer. If we want to make it very specific, we know how to write it. All we need to do is to learn, how well the AI specifically works to be able to prompt it properly. Now, let me start with the very first limitation. I want to speak on a couple of things. Now, every AI has what we call context window. Now, that word context window is just a fancy way. It's just a fancy way of saying. It's just a fancy way of saying working memory. So to refer to the memory of the AI itself. We call it the context window. Every single AI model out there has this context window. Now, depending on the model, the context window can vary in size. And this context window, like I said, is just a fancy name for the memory of the AI, right? Now, there are certain failure modes that we have to be aware of when using any AI model. There are certain failure modes that we have to be aware of. And those failure modes can help us to manage, because like I said, you have to manage the AI, because this is a limitation of every AI out there. So you have to manage it and work around that limitation for you to get the best results when prompting. So we're going to be looking at some failure modes for context window that affect every AI model. It doesn't matter the size of their context window, because AI models can vary in the size of their context window. They can vary. So, and the larger the context window, the more it can remember. The lesser the context window, the less it can remember, right? So most of the models out there have really, really high, like Gemini, GPT codecs, 5.2 codecs, 5.3 codecs. These models have quite large context windows or working memory. So the larger the context window, the better. But then the context window is still, or the working memory is still finite. It's still capped at a certain point. And beyond that point, you can't. And even sometimes for some platforms like Anthropic and Claude, they actually dynamically cap it for you. That's the thing. They will cap it for you dynamically. So depending on your usage, they can start throttling your usage and scale down your context window, which can affect the quality of the results you are getting, even though you are prompting well. So sometimes you can prompt very well, but the underlying system is throttling your usage, and that can also affect the quality of the response that you get from the AI. So, like I said, we're going to be looking at a couple of failure modes across multiple AI models. So, failure mode number one is what we call lossy compaction. Now, lossy compaction is just big grammar that basically means that the AI is summarizing everything that you've told it, everything that it knows, everything that it has collected, both from your skills. So skills are how we expand the knowledge of an AI model. So we put them in what we call MD files, and you use those skill files to be able to expand the knowledge. So usually there are ways to install these skill files, or you can add them to a particular directory. You don't sometimes, for us software engineers, we install the skill files. But for non-technical people who aren't software engineers, or who don't, who just want to plainly use AI for non-technical tasks like writing or designing a flyer, or generating a report, you can add the skill to a particular folder that the AI is watching, right? And once it sees that something has been added to that folder, it will take it in. So for things like skills, or even prompts, past prompts within the same session. So the way AI works, it works session by session. When you are using Gemini or Codex, right? You have different sessions, especially if you are using it on the web in your browser. You have different sessions, and each session is self-contained. The memory of your past prompts in one session, the memory of your prompts in one session do not get carried over to another session. That's what we call context isolation, which is they are isolated. The working memory of each of the AI model for each individual session is isolated. Now, lossy compaction is the AI is trying to create space so that its memory doesn't get full. So it does what is called compaction. For Claude, those of us who use Claude Code, or Claude generally, the general Claude product, we have a compact command that allows you to be able to shrink or summarize everything in the context window, everything that the AI has learned from you or from that session, right? All the prompting in that session. So what it does is it will condense it and summarize it so that, if everything you have told it, everything it has learned amounts to, let's say, 150 KB, right? or if let's say even something around 800 KB, everything it has learned, 800 KB worth of data. And the size of the context window or the working memory is 1 MB, which is 1000 KB. That's 1000 kilobytes, which is 1 MB. And all the information it has gathered from you so far for the session while you are prompting is totaling 800 kilobytes. So which means there's only 200 kilobytes left before it maxes out on its context window. This is just an example. What the AI will do is it will compact. Either you issue the command manually yourself or it does it automatically, right? So one of the ways in which you can, so for instance, some of the models that do auto compaction, Claude also does auto compaction. You have to kind of like set it so that you tell it when it needs to compact and all of that. Others that do that auto compaction are models like Grok. Grok does auto compaction. I think the older 4.0, the older GPT models did auto compaction. Codex doesn't do auto compaction, except you explicitly tell it to, which is kind of like the newer model for, ChatGPT Codex. So this compaction, which is a summarization, actually limits the AI. It actually forces the AI, because it's doing a summarization, so that it can compact it from 800 KB. Remember my example, the maximum size is 1000 KB, which is 1 MB, and 800 KB has been used up on the context window. So it's just remaining very little, 200 KB. So the AI will compact it so that it can shrink all that information down to, say, 400 KB. So from 800 KB to 400 KB. Now, when it does that, most AIs lose information. And that's what we call lossy compaction. It will lose information, critical information, that it needs to be able to further respond to your prompts. Maybe you told it something in an older prompt within the same session, and now it needs to recall information to your newer prompts. If it does auto compaction, it can impact the results. So sometimes it's not necessarily your prompt that is the problem. It is the way the AI is working. So one of the things I advise people to do is to disable auto compaction, right? And there are a couple of ways to do that, to disable auto compaction in certain AIs, right? So on Claude, you can basically disable it with a particular config. To disable auto compaction in Claude, well, this specifically is Claude code. There's a Claude JSON file that you can use, and you can also disable it on the command line. Or for, I think, ChatGPT, I think, let's say, ChatGPT, I think, I think for the older methods, you can do that. But then there's no off switch for OpenAI's codex. That's on the CLI or command line. But then for codecs on the browser, so if you go to, GPT, like just the interface on the browser, same thing with Gemini. Auto compaction is by default off, right? But for command line, for those of us who are software engineers, for the command line, there are different configs that we can use. Like you can use a TOML file and you can set this config to kind of like the maximum number of tokens before you can be able to have auto compaction. So there's a token threshold point before you can have that auto compaction, right? So by default, you don't really have the auto compaction, but you can raise the token limit, right? Which is how many tokens you've consumed already based on your prompting. Both ingress, which is your prompt, and egress, which is the response to your prompt. So you can make all these settings. Now, the next one is what we call code start amnesia. So code start amnesia is another failure mode. Code start amnesia just means that if you are prompting in one particular session, if you create a new session, you've lost all of the memory, everything that you've told the AI model in the previous session, you've lost it in the new session. So that's what we call code start amnesia. So it forgets everything. It doesn't automatically carry, there's no model, AI model that I know of that automatically carries information from one session to another. Be it for software engineers who are on the call, be it your CLI, your command line, or just in the browser where you're just prompting, right? As a normal user. Yeah, so you have that. Number 3 is basically what we call one-shotting. Now, there are a lot of people who are very fond of kind of like wanting to one-shot certain tasks. So again, if it's not a big task, if you don't expect the AI to do a lot of work, it's okay to one-shot, right? But if you expect it to respond with a lot of information and do a lot of work behind the scenes before it responds back to you, one-shotting might not be a very good strategy. You might want to break down the work. Because another thing with one-shotting is that it will exhaust your, especially for large tasks where the AI has to do a lot of computations or a lot of calculations before it's, right? You have to break it down. Even for design tasks, you get the best. So we're not even talking about like software engineering coding tasks. Even for like visual design, you're designing a flyer or you're designing a, some kind of brochure or something. Even taking it step by step, taking the design step by step, where you do one part, then you prompt again to edit further, then you prompt again to edit further. It gives you much better results than if you one-shot the entire. So you say, design me a banner for XYZ. So design a banner for my upcoming wedding. And you now say colors of the day. So I'm actually typing, what you might consider a very weak prompt that has the capacity to exhaust your context window, which is the working memory, and give you not suboptimal results. So you say colors of the day, purple and say maroon red, something like that. Now, if this is your prompt, depending on, now if this is your prompt, so design a banner for my upcoming wedding, colors of the day, purple and maroon red. You have not given a lot of information because this is a prompt that is asking the AI to just one-shot the design. So chances are you may not get exactly what you want because number one, the prompt is too generic, right? A banner for my upcoming wedding. When is the wedding? What is the date? That's missing from the prompt. The only additional information in the prompt is colors of the day, purple and maroon red. There's no additional thing, right? All of that other important information, like the date of the wedding, the people involved in the wedding, who is the groom, who is the bride, what type of wedding is it? Is it a church wedding? Is it, is it a court wedding? What type of wedding is it? All that information is missing. And the AI will have to do a lot of work to just fill in those missing things and try to give you something. But then it will exhaust its context window. This is the important part to understand. It will exhaust the context window while trying to do all of those things, right? So breaking down the task, this is this, this is that, and giving extra detail helps with managing the context window and also just, giving you a better result. Now, the second to the last one for the failure modes is basically what I call the harness impact. So the harness impact is basically so the way in which some of these models work is that when you give your prompt is not the thing. All of your prompt is not the only thing that makes it to the actual AI. The system, right? What you call the harness, or you can call it the system. The harness, and there are harnesses for Anthropic, Claude, harnesses for Codex, ChatGPT, OpenAI, Gemini, and all that. The harness will include what is called a system prompt. So it will take your prompt and then wrap it. There will be an extra prompt that it will now send, including your own prompt that it will send. So it will add what is called a system prompt. And depending on the quality of that system prompt, it can degrade your response and also the quality of your context window. So your context window might, use up a lot of things because of the kind of system prompt that was added to your own prompt before it was sent to the AI model. So that can disrupt things and cause certain things to be, it can disrupt things and cause certain things to be off. Now, to be able to fix this, it means that you have to prompt properly, right? Sometimes you might have to tell, if you don't want the AI to use certain things, you might want to prompt it so that it kind of like disregards certain things in order to be able to respond to you. So for maybe a particular prompt, you want it to disregard what you had said in the last prompt, right? And so you can use something like this: ignore all previous commands, something like this. So you can tell it, okay, because the context window is a all or nothing. That's another thing I wanted to add. It's all or nothing, which means it's either it has been degraded to the point where anything that is missing from the context window or the working memory does not allow the AI give you very good results, or it will use everything that it has to respond to you, especially when you are within the same session. So it can also use, I've seen situations where AI would use something you told it earlier in like 2 prompts ago, or in the first prompt you made, the very first prompt you made on that session. It will use it in a response to maybe your 5th prompt or your 6th prompt. So some ways you can, some ways you can instruct the AI model to ignore all previous commands, or you can say ignore everything from last prompt, right? This is how to get around. Yeah. All right. So this is how to get around. Veronica White. Yes, exactly. So this is how to get around the harness impact problem. So which means you have to take control, right? Because the harness might be, the system prompt might be including some things, but based on your own prompt, it can help shape the system prompt so that it doesn't kind of override certain things in your own prompt and all these things. So you can say ignore all previous commands or ignore everything from last prompt, or you can even tell it to what? That use the response of the last prompt, right? Then you put a semicolon and then you put the actual prompt, do this and that. So this is also another valid prompt. So you do this, so you just put something here, use the response from the last prompt, semicolon, then your actual prompt. That can help you to be able to prompt a lot better, and get better results, and also overcome the limit of harness impact, which is the fourth. So we're going into the last failure mode so that we can round up. So let me just take it from the top. The first failure mode is lossy compaction. We talked about that. AI will compact because it's trying to save space on its memory. And sometimes that compaction can make it lose certain information. Cold start amnesia, if you go to a new session, you lose the working memory. One-shotting, you want to do everything in one prompt. That will exhaust your context window. And then subsequent prompts will suffer from that, right? So you don't want to be one-shotting. Most times, especially like I said, if the response, if what you are doing is like multi-step and it's also very non-trivial and the output is going to be large, the response for the AI, you don't want to do that. You don't want to one-shot. If it's something simple, right, you can one-shot for sure. You can put everything in one prompt and let the AI figure it out. But if it's something complex that it requires multiple steps or very, very intricate steps, right? Or intricate processing, the AI has to process a lot of information. You don't want to one-shot because that will exhaust your context window. And then subsequent prompt on that same session will suffer from hallucination. Because hallucination is basically when you've exhausted your entire context window. No more, no less. That's exactly the cause of hallucination. It only has one cause. The context window has been exhausted. There's no space in the memory again, in the working memory of the AI model. And then you're going to just get a lot of hallucinations. Then number 4 is harness impact. And I've told you how to do that. Harness impact has to do with all the other things that the system is including around your prompts. And you can control that by saying, oh, ignore all previous commands, ignore everything from the last prompt, or give it some preamble, and then with a semicolon, and then give your actual prompt message, like I've shared. Then we will now move over to the last one, the last failure mode. The last failure mode is what we call local patching. Local patching. So number 5, local patching. Local patching is basically the fact that this one actually affects software engineers, but it also affects people that do data analysis and other things too. So local patching is a limit of the context window, which is that the AI is not using much, maybe due to a compaction. The AI is not able to use certain things from its working memory. Now, if you give it a subtask, it's able to do it well. If you give it another subtask, it's also able to do it well. So subtask 1 and subtask 2. But then the overall architecture, the overall thing that you're trying to achieve is still a mess. That's what local patching means. So the subtasks are fine, but when you combine everything together, when you ask the AI to combine everything together, it will just scatter everything. Right? So this is still a limit, especially this affects some of those of us who are software engineers who prompt AI, So you ask it to create one source file, it does it well. You ask it to create another source file that does another thing, it does that well. But when it comes to the harmonization, everything is a mess. Nothing is working, consistently. Nothing is merging, right? So that's what we call, local patching, as well. So these are the 5 failure modes, and based on these failure modes, as long as we try to work around these failure modes, we can be able to, prompt a lot better. We can be able to prompt a lot better in our AI. Let me share my screen very briefly just to show examples of, what I've been doing. All right, so this is Gemini. This I was designing a banner for an article I wrote quite recently about GraphQL. But let's focus on just the creation of the banner, not what's on the banner. So I have my prompt here: create a banner image for a Medium article that is about repurposing GraphQL resolvers. This, that. I don't want to bore the non-technical people here. Use fewer colors, but use shapes from the GraphQL logo in the background and text in the foreground. So I was very specific. I said, use shapes from the GraphQL logo in the background and text in the foreground. So the foreground is what is on top of the background. And it gave me this. So this is an example of one-shotting because it's really a very simple design. It's not a very complex design or anything. But then I actually accidentally said, remove only the text at the bottom, then add text that says, and remove unnecessary complexity. But it generated something I didn't want, something entirely different. And then when I prompted it further, right, it did this. But what I should have used was ignore all previous what? Commands. I'm showing you my mistakes before now putting this command here. So semicolon, before now putting this prompt here. This is what I should have used. Because it was using, this is something from a previous prompt on this particular session, right? So that's kind of like my mistake. Let's go to something else. This was pretty straightforward. I said, put the following information below in an infographic banner with good color combination and design. I wasn't looking for anything complex, so I didn't. It was okay that it's okay that I'm one-shotting it because I'm not really looking for anything very, very complex, right? I just want the information in an infographic, and this is the information. This is all of the information here. And yeah, it did a very good job. It did a very good job of basically one-shotting it and just putting, I checked, all the information is there, right? So making your prompts very specific and including information, can really help in getting you the result. So this was a very good prompt. And so the result was just right for me. Like I didn't have to prompt it further to edit anything or change anything. Everything was just okay. Same thing here. Put the following information in an infographic, colors, good design. One-shotted it. I wasn't really looking for much, and it did a very good job as well. So this is a code related one. Yeah, I was looking for a way to, so I said MySQL equivalent of this PostgreSQL schema. So I had to include the schema to get the, so this is the a Postgres schema, and I wanted the equivalent in MySQL. So for those of us who do data science and all of that, I think we are, but these are just working with databases. So the response was basic. This was the response and all of that. It was basically the same thing. I just wanted to be sure that I was on the right track. This was for a project that I was working on quite recently. And then it gave me some extra examples. So this is Gemini, and Gemini is really good at doing a couple of these things. Let me see if, okay, yeah, I wanted a check constraint for a MySQL table. I was building a multi-tenant e-commerce project for a client, and I wanted a couple of check constraints, which is something that has to do, something that actually validates the information that goes into a database. So it's called a check constraint for those of us who are not technical. So I had to list out everything. A bike can be used for last mile, middle mile, same day deliveries, a truck, blah, 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 a van, last mile, middle mile, a bicycle, last mile, shipping vessel, white glove, standard deliveries. And I included a bit of SQL code to support my prompt, right? So by using this dash and, this dash, then the first thing in the list, another dash, the AI is able to recognize that this is a list of things by using this dash in front. And then by using these 3 backticks, it's able to know that this is some kind of code. So formatting your prompts really well also helps. And it's just one-shotted it and gave me a very good output. I didn't have to, okay, yeah, I modified just a little bit. So I was able to say modify the check constraints for this, and that and this and some other thing. I don't really want to go. And it did that. So the first one was okay. The first table it created for me was fine with the check constraints, because I didn't want to bog my head trying to set up this check constraint. Like I said, check constraints are just ways to validate data going into a table. And I just did this, and then I had some slight modifications, and it also correctly included those modifications in one prompt. This is another image that I generated quite recently for a post, actually a Medium article. Was basically writing something for microservices. So this is another one. I think all these ones are just check constraints and all that. So prompting very well is basically, I think in conclusion, I would just say prompting very well is basically about knowing the limitations of the tool you're working with and understanding the fact that it can't make associations. AI is not yet good at making associations, so you are going to help with that. It was interesting for me to see a lot of Anthropic Claude users earlier, last year, I think last year or even earlier this year, doing things like plan mode. Now, plan mode destroys your context window, but then it benefits the company, right? So if you do plan mode with Anthropic Claude or with any other model, you are destroying the context window. And again, like I said, the context window is something that you should protect. You who is prompting, you are in charge. All right. There is no other person who is in charge. You are the one in charge. You who is doing the prompting, you are in charge of ensuring that your context window doesn't max out quickly, right? And that if there is a particular lower limit for auto compaction, you're able to raise that limit so that you don't lose information during a session. And you are responsible for also taking information from one session to the other. Yes, you have to do it manually. There's no automatic way to do it for now. So it was very interesting for me to watch people who use Anthropic Claude do things like plan mode. Plan mode benefits the company. You are burning tokens and you are spending money, and that benefits Anthropic. But it doesn't benefit you because you are trashing your working memory, the working memory of your AI. You are trashing it, you are destroying it. And then any subsequent prompt you make on top of that plan mode within that same session, you will now start seeing a lot of hallucinations because your plan mode has exhausted your context window. It has finished it completely. So if you're now making extra prompts to now execute, tell the Claude, okay, execute the plan. Claude doesn't have any more working memory. And this is something that leads to a particular thing that affects Claude. This one is particular to Anthropic Claude. I don't use Anthropic Claude anymore. I used to use Opus, Anthropic Claude Opus. I don't use it anymore. I stick with Gemini and Codex. I'm not asking you to switch, but I mean, there are certain things that I have encountered with Claude that has made me. So plan mode is not something I did a lot of, especially when it came out and when they introduced it, because it benefits Anthropic, it doesn't benefit you. All right, you destroy your context window, and then when it's time for the AI model to execute on the plan, it's hallucinating. It's including things that weren't in the plan. It's, telling you that it has finished. Or you ask it to fix something or to fix a couple of tests, it tells you that it's done, that there's nothing more to do. Or it will delete something from your work, something it included earlier, it will delete it. That's because all these problems are because your context window is finished. The way I do it, the way I approach planning with AI is I use a separate model or a separate session for planning, right? I can do the planning by myself, but most times I'd rather not, because why is AI there in the first place, right? So I use an AI model. So either I use two completely different models, one for planning and the other for execution. That way, I'm able to conserve my context window, right? Because that's the most important thing, to get quality results, and also the quality of your prompts. But even more than that, the context window is everything. So use one model. Usually I use Gemini for planning, and I use Codex to execute, right? Except if it's something like just designing a very simple banner or image, then I can just do it only in Gemini, like I've showed you. But if it comes to, kind of like multi-step tasks, very, very complex, I do my planning in Gemini and I move everything over. You have to move it. There's no other way. You have to manually move everything to the other session or the other AI so that you can conserve your context window. This is very, very vital. All right, that will be all. I think that will be all from me. I thank you all for listening, and I think if there are any questions, yeah.
Wow, thank you so much, sir. I can see all of us clapping. That means it's worth the time. It's worth our time. Thank you so much for the teachings, the explanation, and having to give us real-time examples. So I don't know if you have questions. You can take the next 3 minutes for questions. If you have a question, you can raise up your hand. Okay. Grace said she has a question. Please, you can unmute and ask your question. Thank you.
All right, yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mr. Ifeora Patrick. Thank you for that wonderful session. Where you were presenting, there was something I caught the context window and the limited memory. of the AI model that one can choose to use. So I noticed that when I was okay, actually I'm into academics and I do some of my research work using AI. So I was trying to develop a scaffold for a proposal topic. So I asked the AI, gave me the prompt to use, and I actually expected a better outcome, but what I got was kind of a scratch on the surface. So I really didn't get what I wanted. Although I gave it a specific command that you should get me linked to journals from Africa, Nigeria, and America. So, but the links it gave me, I didn't see any from Nigeria at all, let alone Africa. So it was kind of scattered. So I really don't know. For such type of tasks, do I need to break it down session by session in order to get what I really want? Or is there a better prompt I should have used to get what I really wanted? So that's my question.
Okay. So I would say that. So let me get it straight. Like let me understand you. You wanted a couple of links of specific journals or any journal at all from Nigeria.
Specific journals related to the topic I was working on. And I also typed the journal, the topic on the AI. I told the AI I was working on this topic. So it gave me journals related to this topic from Nigeria, Africa, and America. So, but the return, what it returned to me, we are mostly foreign journals. None of it was from Nigeria.
Okay. It well, there might be a couple of there might be a couple of things I'm seeing here. I hope you can hear me. So one would be that perhaps there are no journals from Nigeria for that particular topic, right? That could be a possibility. So it probably can't find anyone. So that's one possibility. The other possibility is that maybe there was some maybe if you had widened the search, so let's say you could say maybe not Nigeria specifically, if you widen it to say West Africa, right? That perhaps could have, generated, more plausible results. So because this is this sort of thing is something that you can one shot. Like it doesn't necessarily need multiple prompts or anything like that. It's something that you can one shot, and it's something that you can basically just as long as you give it all the details, which I'm guessing you did from your explanation, you definitely could get the results that you are looking for. So maybe do some research, some primary research, see if, or you could actually talk to maybe your peers, see if journals from Nigeria for that specific topic actually exist. Because if they don't exist, the AI, can't really return much. I mean, the AIs now, they would rather not return wrong data than, return data at all that is wrong. So data that has been hallucinated or data that is wrong, they would choose not to return any information at all instead. So you can talk to your peers, see if they have any luck getting journals from Nigeria for that particular topic. You guys can compare notes, and yeah, as long as you are putting all the details in the prompt, I believe that the AI would be able to, find something. Again, I have to ask, were you online?
Yeah, I was.
Okay.
I was online throughout the
What
whole week.
model were you using?
I was using consensus AI.
Okay, I don't know much about that. But
That was
yeah, maybe
just
you
for
might have to.
academic.
Okay, maybe you might have to try another model that can help too. So repeat
Okay.
the same exact prompt, try other models as well. That also can help. I hope I was able to
Yeah.
assist. All right. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you too.
All right, thank you, sir. So, I don't know, do we have more questions? I can't see any hand. Any more questions? Okay, since there is no more hand, I guess we should draw the curtain here. Thank you so much, Mr. Patrick, for taking
Sorry.
us.
Sorry to. I
Sorry,
think
sir.
there's. I think there's. Let me just answer. I think I just saw one question from Veronica White on the chat.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah. So just one more question. I'll be quick so that I don't waste time we have left. So it says for Gemini, what are the restrictions, free and paid? So I think she's talking about the different tiers or versions. So what are the restrictions? Well, the thing is, the free tier has, the most limited restriction. But it connects to your Google Docs, your Gmail. It can pull information from it. It also has smaller limits on file uploads. So, and then, the prompts that you can make are also limited, and also the model access. Once you exhaust your quota for the day, it switches you to another. I think there's a nano banana model. It switches you to a much lower model. So you stop using the actual Gemini model and it switches you to a lower model. So yeah, there's that as well. And also the amount of deep research you can do is also very limited. But then you have $19 per month, which is the Pro, Gemini Pro. That gives you a lot more. And the file upload, the amount of files you can upload as part of your prompt is also a lot more. So yeah, and there's also a 5-hour reset. Yeah, this is important. There's a 5-hour reset and also a weekly reset for usage limits for the free tier, right? So it will refresh every 5 hours, right? Until it kind of caps out weekly. So this has to do with your usage limits and also the amount of the size of your prompts, the maximum size that your prompt can be for the free tier. And also for the paid tier, which goes, I think, $19, per month, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that actually this is. So just know that there is a weekly reset for the free tier. So that can also affect the context window or the memory as you're using it. So there's also that as well. I hope I was able to answer your question, Veronica. Okay, very quickly, let me answer just the very last question, and then we're done for the day. I'm sorry, please. So there's a new question here. This will be the last one. I won't be taking any more after this. What is your take on utilizing agents, particularly in Claude Code? considering its capacity to run in parallel and routine runs. So I believe, Emeka, I believe you are talking about sub-agents, running sub-agents, multiple agents with Cloud Code and running them in parallel. I would say that that is usually a waste of one's time, to put it lightly. So one thing you have to understand is that the AI companies are doing what is in their best interest. It's a business, right? And they want to make the most money, right? And they also want to elicit the most usage, right? So they want people using it actively. So that's the first thing you have to understand. It's a business and they are there to make money. And sometimes some features are not in your own interest as a user. Sometimes they are in the interest of the business. So things like plan mode, things like running agents in parallel, because like I said earlier, you have context isolation, which is the context, the working memory for one sub-agent is separate from the working memory for another. And there is no cross-communication between the sub-agents. So if you are running the sub-agents in parallel, you, the human in the loop, have to be responsible for merging together the individual responses or individual results from each sub-agent, right? And sometimes that can be quite messy and suboptimal. Like it can be quite a frustration to undertake, right? So I would say single agent, and then you manage the process, right? Yeah, you could use sub-agents too if you were running the same task across. So if it's the same task, but you just need so many things working on it, it's a mundane task, right? Something like, maybe cleaning up data, data, people who do data analysis, they would understand what I'm talking about, and all of that. You have to clean the data. If you're a data analyst, you first of all have to clean the data. And if you have a lot of data to clean, yes, you can run in sub-agents. You can run that, kind of like in parallel. You can run a couple of sub-agents, Cloud sub-agents in parallel, and then you can merge the results, or you can even ask the AI to kind of like merge it. For tasks like that, I think that's fine. But for tasks that, especially when I talked about local patching, which is the AI is doing work specifically in a particular, how do I say it? So locally, it's able to correctly deliver on a task. So on local subtasks, it's able to deliver properly and reasonably. But the wider system, it's kind of loose. There's no connection. There's no strong connection in terms of the wider system. Each subtask does not really connect very well. And especially you find this problem in coding tasks, right? So when you come to merge it, you will see that everything is a mess and it doesn't really flow together, globally. But locally, everything works well. But globally, when you come to merge everything together, everything is just quite messed up. So I would say you have to choose running sub-agents in parallel, specifically for specific tasks where, you are duplicating tasks across the sub-agents. So you just need more workers. You just need more hands working on this thing. It's a mundane task and you just need more hands. I think sub-agents are really great for such tasks. But then for coding tasks, I don't think, specifically for coding tasks, I don't think sub-agents are beneficial long term, even short term. I don't think they are. All right, that'll be all. Thank you all very much for attending. I want to thank the organizers, Thinkficial. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Thinkficial, yes. I want to thank everyone for coming and for listening, and I will hand over to Madam Mary Rose. All right.
All right, thank you so much, sir. So I would invite our manager, Mr. Augustine, for a final vote of thanks. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mary Rose. I want to use this opportunity to thank the instructor, Mr. Ifeora. Thank you very much for the exposition. I want to thank everyone who had time to be on this call. You join us next month also, and do well to follow the link, join our groups, so that we could also further help with links that could help expose us to different tech fields. We hope that what you've learned will be actually put to use, and when you are with us, you learn greater. Thank you, Ifora. Please leave your doors open in case of next time. God bless you.
Yes, thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much, sir. So we'll be drawing the curtain here, and I believe it's worth the time for those that have stayed with us till now. Thank you so much. So I've dropped on the chat box links to all our social media network, to all of our social media platform, including the YouTube channel where the recordings of this section will be uploaded to. So do well to follow us there. So once it's uploaded, you can have access to the recordings of the session. Thank you, everybody, once again, and have a good night's rest. And to all us haters, on a lighter note, congratulations.